I had a major problem after I finished cancer treatment. That problem was that I just wanted to climb every single big mountain that I could, starting with Mount Kilimanjaro. Today, I am going to show you exactly how much my trip to Tanzania to climb Mount Kilimanjaro cost. The cost to climb Mount Kilimanjaro definitely varies. Some people can go with a less expensive guide and go on a shorter climb and maybe not have an amazing experience with inexperienced guides or guiding companies that aren't vetted. Or you can spend a whole lot more money climbing Kilimanjaro with a longer climb, a really expensive guiding company, and some of those luxuries that you don't really need on the mountain, like outdoor showers. Here is exactly how much it cost me to climb Mount Kilimanjaro in June of 2024. First, cash. I took $400 with me in cash. I used that for tips and miscellaneous things. Next year, I'm going to increase that amount. Gear for this trip. I didn't really need any new clothing or gear. I mostly just wanted to buy some new clothing and gear. So I spent $763.38 on a new day pack, trekking poles, a new pair of shoes, a sleeping bag liner, some clothing, and a pair of sunglasses. Next up was travel insurance with World Nomads, and I'll do a video on them in the future. I spent $164.71 on travel insurance. I spent $1,996.90 on flights from Laramie, Wyoming to Moshi, Tanzania. And I spent $626.99 on seat upgrades. I spent $8 on an eSIM so I could have internet access and be able to contact my family. I spent $101.50 on my visa to enter Tanzania and $235.75 on some vaccinations that weren't necessarily mandatory to enter Tanzania, but just vaccinations that I felt safer having since I was traveling to Africa. And then miscellaneous travel. So this is meals, hotels, snacks, and airports. I spent $458.45. And the base cost of the trek was $2,495, bringing that total to $7,250.68. That's a lot of money. So if I were to be traveling to Kilimanjaro on a budget, here's what I would do. I would budget $300 for tips, cash, incidentals for a 7-day trip. That's still a really decent tip for your guides and porters. I would rent gear. I would buy footwear on sale. I would use what you have. I definitely splurged on my gear. So you might spend $0 on gear, or you might spend $100 on gear. Travel insurance, I would still budget for around $165, depending on what kind of policy you're looking at. Flights. So I spent a lot on flights because I flew out of a smaller airport. I booked at the last minute. I didn't search for deals. I didn't use points. But I think you can fly from a larger international airport in the US to Moshi for around $1,000 if you do some planning and some research. I just didn't do that. Seat upgrades. You don't have to upgrade your seat. It's a long trip. And so I upgraded my seats. An eSIM, that's not necessarily something you might need, but it's only $8 or a couple bucks to be able to be connected back home, and I think that's worth it. Visa, $101.50 to enter Tanzania. There's no way to get around that. Vaccinations, I would say, do you really need them? And if you don't need them or don't want them, then don't get them, and see if maybe you could get them for free. I'm a veteran, and so I did get some of my vaccinations for free through the VA, so I would double check on that. And you could get away without spending any money on vaccinations. As far as miscellaneous travel, maybe you bring your own snacks. Maybe you don't buy things at airports. Maybe if you get delayed, you sleep in the terminal instead of get a hotel. I would say maybe budget $100 for those incidentals. And I think with the base cost of the trip next year being $2,495, I think you could budget $4,269.21 to get to climb Mount Kilimanjaro from the United States and still have a fantastic time. So I would say, $4,200, $4,500, maybe even $5,000. That seems super reasonable to me. Now, I will say that my flight from Denver to London was delayed because of the weather. No, it was canceled because of the weather. And they couldn't get me to Tanzania for 3 more days. So I had to buy another plane ticket last minute at the airport in the middle of the night so that I could get to Tanzania to start our climb on time. It was extremely stressful. So I had to pay $2,660 out of pocket to get on that last minute flight to Tanzania. But World Nomads did reimburse that full amount because I had travel insurance. So I did have to pay that money up front, but I was reimbursed within 30 days of submitting my claim through World Nomads. So there's always those last minute unexpected things. And I definitely recommend getting travel insurance, just because if I would have had to have paid that $2,600 and not get reimbursed for it, that would have kicked the price of this climb up to $10,000, which is a lot of money. And I also want to be fully transparent here that I did not pay for the base cost of the trip, because as the trip leader, that is comped for me. So I go on these trips for free, but I work really hard to make sure that everybody has a good time on them. So that's just how I'm compensated for the work that I do here at Hike Like a Woman. So there you have it, the cost to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. One thing that I learned while I was in Tanzania is that you can't put a price tag on the memories and the experiences that will be made when you climb Mount Kilimanjaro. Was it worth it to spend this amount of money climbing Kilimanjaro? Absolutely. Now go check out this video if you want to experience what climbing Kilimanjaro with a group of adventurous women was like.